Emma actually took early risk, i.e. before the policy was even fully implemented.
What we're seeing here is how that funding from developers through the Biodiversity Net Gain project is creating habitats on the ground.
Emma's been a passionate advocate of getting the whole estate to net zero by 2050.
Even more exciting here for me is the link with the school groups. You are definitely getting the next generation involved.
It is, I think, in many ways, only the beginning of the journey. There's so much more we can do in collaboration between Whitehall, local government, and of course the private sector. I think showing people what you can do whilst growing the economy, continuing to make it dynamic, but also being responsible and meeting our obligations to net zero.
We need houses, we also need nature. Biodiversity Net Gain means we can get both.
I am absolutely supportive of the next phase as well.
For the first time ever in this country, we've got a government commitment to put nature back, to halt species abundance, to create new habitats, and to genuinely do what we all in our hearts believe we need to do. Biodiversity Net Gain is going to be one of the most important tools for doing that. And the fact that we're going to have the local nature recovery strategies sitting alongside development plans, sitting alongside Biodiversity Net Gain, means local authorities have a real opportunity to make sure that Biodiversity Net Gain delivers what people in their area want. Alscot's making it reality. At 50 hectares of land done already and more to come.
It strikes me that one of the things that's our big challenge is to get environmental awareness, the protection of the environment and the enhancement of the environment as an absolutely intrinsic part of everything we do.
How are you dealing with biodiversity net gain? How are you dealing with health and well-being? Reality, Jeremy, is that until regulations come in, the industry won't change.
Making sure there is enough within the system so the people who are going to live in the new homes have nature on their doorstep.
It's not just for nature, but also deliver other benefits as well.
I think it's exactly as you say, it's whether or not we can persuade developers and others to do this and other things.
At the moment that it's really fragmented, but here it was a safer decision to take because we had that basis from 2015 that was adopted.
The council is very fortunate to have David as an ecologist. It's the knowledge of the right mix for biodiversity on site and the way that you manage it.
You need local authority ecologists to regulate this, to understand this, to do the mitigation hierarchy.
Really important thing from my perspective is connectivity. So the whole of our project is connected. So phase 1 will be connected to phase 2. So we feel that we can actually deliver nature for the future.
Climate is going to change. We handle the migration from where we are now to a different climate in 50, 60 years' time.
So the key thing for us is to set targets which are realistic for now, but we build in a process where we can review how the land is changing.
Sam and I were having a conversation the other day about ash dieback disease because part of phase 2 actually goes into some of our wooded areas, and we have a policy within the estate with regards to ash dieback disease, but in 30 years' time I can't say what else is going to appear.
Because I think you're absolutely right. Our climate will change. It may not just be species, it may be different diseases. The resilience to species are different diseases. We need the corridors, the systems that allow wildlife to move.
One of the things we are looking at national level is kind of templates for habitat management and review. It's something we're very much aware of. How much flex can you give in habitat management?
People will all have comments on DEFRA 3.0 and these things are going to continually evolve.
I'm working with Nick currently to build that template for the management plan. It means that we'll get some standardisation between projects and LPAs will then be familiar with a fixed and normal approach for that, so we should all be aiming for the same quality of outcomes.
It's critical that we look after the countryside within this area.
At the moment we're just talking about, and obviously in Warwickshire very much just talking about on land, but an approach is beginning to be developed as to how this could be applied at sea.
I think it's like everything, diversification is key. So we still need to be able to farm, we still need to be able to produce food crops, especially with what's going on in the world, even more so. We still need to be able to run the businesses. We need to be able to deliver this at the same time, and all of it enables each other.
The biggest worry, and obviously get approached across the country, there isn't that knowledge base and resource.
There's complexities, isn't there, within the metric, and some things are more beneficial than others.
Well, actually, yes, we only lose X number of units of woodland. Therefore, we have an aspiration of planting 560,000 trees.
When I'm dealing with customers, this does not come into the conversation. So having been here and heard what you're talking about, I'm able to now look out for it. Well, I found it absolutely fascinating to hear what you're trying to achieve.
Is this a true offset scheme? We go, yes, because we're regulated.
Limited demand's going to come forward for some habitat.
The difficulty is you could have one of the best projects in the whole country, but if you haven't got that ability to drive it forward, there is an awful lot of risk at this stage. There is no clarity over tax.
If we're going to create a habitat for the future, we need to be able to put the hedges, the trees, every single format needs to be part of the project.
It is starting to become business.
So, if it's green, it's good. If it's red, it's an offset.
That's really helpful. I mean, that's what I hoped you'd say.
I've learned an awful lot, and as I said earlier, I'm still learning.
Started the project 2 years before it became mandatory. Put a lot of investment into creating the biodiversity you're going to see, the wildflower meadows. We put a lot of time and effort in to get those legal agreements, first in the country to do so. It takes a lot of hard work, doesn't it? We need to get all the landowners involved, understand the regulation of the whole system, get confidence behind it.
I think David was absolutely right to talk about pride. It seems to me there's a huge amount to be proud of for everyone.
And hopefully you'll be able to share some of this with some of the other estates, both in Warwickshire and beyond. It's fantastic. Thank you for having me.